With this one, yeah, no, it's a bad pun. But listen, I really do love this show. Legends of Tomorrow, it was very interesting. It was 80s, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember the 80s, the big shoulder pads. When the episode was on, I almost wanted to break into a little rhythm nation, you know?
They had a great sort of Miami Vice-esque opening that on Damien Darhk as Miami Vice style dress.
Exactly, man. Talk about setting the tone.
Yeah.
There's the opening shot. You nailed it. Damien Darhk and of course, reverse flash up in there. Thawne is in there. And look at this. Boom.
Yeah. I don't remember the 80s, but I remember the nostalgia.
Let me tell you something. All we need to do is make Thawne black and you got Miami Vice. That's cracking in tubs without the perm. And the jacket, the shirt with no collar and the white oh man, it was straight there. The music. When I heard Danger Zone,
that shot with the team walking in. Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
That was beautiful.
They did a really good job of setting the tone of that era with the music and with the clothes.
With the clothes,
yeah, it was great.
Vixen worrying about the shoulder pads.
Yes.
And then Nick reacting, he's like, "Oh, I hate." What's it? I hate music.
The 80s. Yes. It was "Died in Your Arms Tonight" was a song, I think. And he slammed it. I personally, listen, I lived through the 80s. There was lots about the 80s I loved, but people who know me know that I refer to them as the ugly 80s. Because there's so much about it. So much was so right. And so much was so wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, look, from the 80s came my old hairstyle, the high top fade, which... Why? But we did it. It was oh my gosh. But so the episode. So there's this unholy alliance. With Thawne and Darhk. That was kind of neat to see.
Yeah, as unholy as it is, I'm so glad we got back to it.
Yes.
Because I've been waiting to see where they're going with it since like episode 2 or whenever it was last time that we really got a chance to see them.
Right.
So yeah, and it was fun to see Thawne talking about, like, he's like, well, first Darhk is like, oh, I haven't seen you in like 40 years or something, and Thawne's like, for you maybe.
Yeah, for me it was like 10 seconds
ago.
yesterday. Exactly. That was very cool. So we get into the whole mission, and they're going into the 80s. Ronald Reagan, we got to visit the White House.
Yep.
Which was kind of interesting. Before they even started off, though, I got to ask you, is anybody like me, are you do you want them to hurry up and find something for Ray to really do? Because it seemed like they were talking, it ended last time like, hey, you can be my new Captain Cold. But there was that moment later on, I don't want to get ahead of the story here, where he says, I'm Colonel Cold. He goes, you can't promote yourself. But it seems like it started out, this is the role he's going to step into. They have that mission at the White House. Doesn't go exactly right. And Mick
really
gets kind of upset with them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think about this? Like, we're still dealing with Ray trying to find his way. That was not done on purpose.
I did enjoy like last episode and this one where he's like really first of all he's like so dorky with like apple slices and, and then when Mick's like stop trying to be like Leonard, so I like kind of just seeing him try to like
I think it's good character work because I think that a lot of times Ray has spent like molding himself to be something else or to be, live up to some other expectation.
But I feel like, I think by the time the crossover episode happens, he'll already have found his...
I think he's going to
happen soon. I think
he's going to be the Atom by the crossover episodes again.
I mean, he's going to remake that suit or something.
Right. Something's going to happen. But what's interesting to me is, and one of the great things for me about Legends of Tomorrow is that obviously growing up with DC Comics and knowing all these characters, I know all these characters.
Right.
But then to see actors portraying these characters and then the different relationships. And that was really the great thing about season 1 for me is the different relationships that come out that are unexpected as a comic fan that come out of the actors playing these characters.
Right.
And one of those was this, obviously Dominic Purcell and Wentworth Miller have this great thing going from Prison Break that they brought over to the show. But almost, I mean, you can see it in that first episode when he calls him Haircut, that there was something with Brandon and
Mick,
and Dominic. So with the two, and I really love that they're exploring that in the absence of Snart and exploring. He's not going to be the new Captain Cold, but it's interesting to really see this relationship between what was a psychopathic arsonist who's now becoming a little bit more heroic, and this straight-laced sort of I want to be a hero guy who's now kind of seeing the other side. It's a really unique and interesting, I think, relationship between those two characters. That's fun to watch.
Yes, two people who should not be friends, and yet, and interestingly enough, it was the guy who's the more hawkish one that kind of extended the olive branch. You know, it was really Mick who said, "All right, hey, how about here's the gun?" And you know, not the guy who's straight lafing. You're gonna get a lot of precious out of me.
Is so good.
Oh,
I mean, he's taken a character from the comic books that was like a nothing character. And I mean, literally like a fifth-tier villain. And made him one of the premier characters in this new universe.
It's in the personality, because basically you take the gun away, and in the comic world, you have basically nobody. The guy that Ray is complaining about being. You take away my suit, I'm nothing. You know, but actually you have an actor who's taken a role that really was nothing and has made it something solid.
I think my favorite bit was him just sort of like eating that, was it an eclair? That he's just eating.
And he's
while like,
be the last,
like they're literally about to die. And he could have also just gone up and gone with everyone else, but he's like, well, if you're gonna die failing at doing this, I'm gonna sit here with you and eat an eclair.
And they've been working on that relationship all along. I mean, with the Russia stuff in the season 1, and you know, they've been really building that. That arc.
Now getting into it, they're in the White House, and then I guess the next point was Martin seeing Martin once again. We saw
the
Martin.
Return of the Martins.
The return of the Martins. Martin! I was like, wrong Martin. But it's the return of the Martins once again.
So I could have done without the return of young Martinstein.
Okay.
And I feel like it's one of those things where, and this happens a lot in production and television, you cast an actor and you really like them and they get along really well with the crew and with the rest of the cast, and we want to bring them back. And sometimes sometimes it's not anything more than just we like you and we want to put you back on the show.
And it feels force-fed in there.
And so I felt like it was a little repetitive, a little force-fed. I felt like we got what we needed out of young Martin in the past. Although what it did give an opportunity was for present-day Martin to have a little bit
himself.
of a well, no, I was actually going to go with he hasn't seen his wife in as long.
That's what I love about it.
And his wife in 2016 thinks her husband just disappeared until he returns that time. So to get him an opportunity, and Victor Garber obviously is so good at this, to really be with the younger version. You know, it's like imagine going back and seeing your parents. You know, when you were a kid or something like that.
Letting her know how much her husband loves her. Because I guess my question was like, if her husband loves her so much, and I know that Martin does in the present, why is young Martin such a scrub? Like, why is he like this?
Well, it could be that whole time paradox thing. Maybe the reason why he loves her so much is because of the events that we just saw the other day.
Well, and that's going to be interesting going forward in Legends of Tomorrow, and certainly going forward in the Arrowverse shows with, you know, after the Flashpoint stuff, is to see what does change? Because our present timeline, I wonder when the Legends do get together with the Arrow and the Flash and Supergirl, are they going to realize how their world's changed from what they've been doing?
I hadn't even thought of that, because I know they mentioned like, oh, it must be an aberration or whatever, but it could literally be because of Flashpoint that happened.
Look,
or because of the Legends gallivanting and messing up in different time periods.
Well, you know, you were talking about something that was really interesting on the after show, the point you made about the mortality. You know, helping himself take better care of himself to preserve his older self. And it's that ripple effect. I mean, and going back to what you two were saying, it's the ultimate 1985 alternate. You know what I mean? We have no idea. When we watched that, again, I'm going crazy here, but when you watched that first Back to the Future and he changed the timeline in Back to the Future Part 2, you had no idea when he came back the condition of Hill Valley. And right now we're watching them interact, and we're watching, you know they're jacking up stuff. The Legends of Tomorrow are just like, oh, whoop-de-doo. We're just like, hey, do this. And you don't know the ramifications, and we haven't seen it yet. And I think we're going to get to a point where we do see it all come together. And we, the audience, them being there from season 1 of these shows, know what was. And we're going to see how even these other shows have been changed and altered because of the, I don't want to say interference, but just, don't we call it something nice, stuff they done did.
Well, and also, I mean, now that we've introduced Reverse Flash as the villain in Legends of Tomorrow, what Reverse Flash is this?
Yes.
Is this a Reverse Flash?
Because it's not the timeline that he's coming from.
It cannot be the Reverse Flash that then became Harrison Wells. But does he still become Harrison Wells because that Flash came back with him at Flashpoint in the first episode of the season? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Doesn't it make you geek out? I love this. And then the other interesting thing,
I hope they have a plan for it. I hope they know which. I hope they know which.
I would like to believe they do. I don't know that they do, but I would like to believe they do, and I'm going to continue to believe they do until I'm proved wrong.
I just want to say that, like, even though maybe like young Martinstein wasn't very necessary, I do think the actor that played him, Graham McComb, I think his name, I think he was really, really good. Like, I think he got the mannerisms down.
Yeah,
And I could definitely
I think why they brought him back.
What's the actor's name?
Victor Garber.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he really did
the
the good mimic. You know, it kind of reminded me of River Phoenix doing Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones movie. It's like
so
spot on.
If they do find a storyline that really does work to bring him back, then they can do that.
Interesting side story. I was interviewing Katie Lotz last year, and she told me that she was in Vancouver having dinner, and the waiter that was waiting on her said, "Oh, you're on Legends of Tomorrow. I've just been cast as a young Professor Stein. I'm going to be on that show next week." So
that's awesome.
it gives me some, you know, it's nice to hear that they're bringing him back, and maybe he doesn't have to go back to waiting on Vancouver on
That is
Katie
very
Lotz.
cool.
Oh,
that is very cool.
That's so sweet.
Okay, so I don't want to miss a couple of cool little quick points. You know, of course we find out that Dark was doing something with the KGB, gets this little box. Sarah stepping up with the little light fingers. Boom.
After she did kind of cause like a situation.
A situation.
But how great was Katie Lotz in that scene with Neil McDonough? And basically just saying, this is what's going to happen.
Oh, that was amazing.
And the rest of you're never going to win.
Right.
And I know that.
Okay.
Now, the only problem with that is like telling him obviously makes him want to stop that from happening.
Oh my gosh,
That's what you should not do if you go back in time.
But in that moment, when you're watching that scene, like I think we were all probably like,
Well, the final moment of the show,
the ball.
Right. So this is what I wanted to say, which is another interesting point, because we were talking about how we know now that Laurel is going to come back for the Arrow 100th episode, the crossover episode. Katie Cassidy is going to be on the show. We don't know in what form. Flashback. We've been told it's not flashbacks, but we don't know. Is it dream sequence?
She's getting married. You see those pictures? She's no wedding dress.
But here's my question: if and follow me, nerds, because this is time travel 101. If Neil McDonough, if Damien Darhk leaves, let's assume that 1980s timeline is the timeline that leads up to the Arrow series that we've been watching.
Right.
If Damien Darhk leaves that timeline, then is he in the timeline to kill Laurel in 2015?
Oh. So like literally we could get to the crossover and it's another reality.
Another reality.
I don't know.
I'm even wondering if the crossover.
But it made me think.
I'm even wondering if the crossover is actually going to be in not just our time, but on our Earth. You know, I mean
I think it's the way I understand it. I think it is in the Arrowverse and not the Supergirl parallel.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely
she comes over from that
Arrowverse.
Universe to this universe. But I agree. What does this universe look like at that point?
Final point. What was in the box?
Yes.
What was in the box that
we don't know?
We don't know. What do you guys think? But like, what do you guys think was in the box? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, it looked like a ring box, right?
It did. Yeah, it looked like.
And Obsidian is Hal Jordan's grandson, right? Or he's a Green Lantern.
Obsidian is Alan Scott's son.
So he's a Green Lantern.
No relation to Hal Jordan, but Alan Scott.
Alan Scott. But still, it's a Green Lantern.
Yes.
So could it be a ring?
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Interesting.
And we have been told by the producers, I believe, that this Obsidian that was great played as old by Lance Hendrickson.
That was amazing.
It was great seeing him back.
I loved him with Amaya. We didn't talk about Amaya, but they had such great scenes together, and we got to see her backstory.
But I think we were told, not necessarily in the show, but by producers, that this Obsidian is the son of Alan Scott.
Yes.
So there could be a connection there. We have seen hints, certainly, I think was season 3 of Arrow, that their Coast City exists and Hal Jordan exists.
City flashbacks and flashbacks.
Yeah, so
hints in Flash too.
So
hopefully.
Well, a lot to think about. We've got and moving forward. Listen, like I said, CW's crushing it now. I'm ready for next week. I'm ready to be chatting again with these guys right here and these ladies right here. And listen, and you're watching us. Listen, subscribe. Hit us up on all of our social media. Tell everybody about us because we love talking about this. It's in our DNA.
Yeah, and send us any questions throughout the week if you have like #DCTVU, or you can comment on the after shows that we do right after each episode.
And of course the pics we've been showing because you're talented folks and we want to put your stuff on the air and put it online and let people look at the stuff that you've got going on. Well, listen, until next time, until next DCU, here we are, we're the crew, and we will see you, next Friday?
Yeah.
Boom, CW, Flash is back! Woo!
All right. I just died in your arms tonight.